It's been a frustrating return to work for the region's commuters today, with delays on the Anglia services into London Liverpool Street. Once again, the problem was due to engineering works which overran.
There was an air of inevitability about it. Work was back to normal, but the trains weren't.
So just on a cold day, it's not what you need waiting at a station for over half an hour, really. And it just happens every year, doesn't it, I think, that they seem to overrun over and over again.
There's been such a muddle over the last year. I think every time I've caught a train it's been late or delayed, or there's been a bus service, so it has been a little tricky.
It's just typical of the railway system. You just have to go with what they've got to offer, which isn't a lot.
Network Rail engineers were replacing overhead power lines at Bethnal Green, close to London Liverpool Street. Network Rail says that work was completed by early this morning, but then a separate issue arose, and that's what caused the delays. It's now emerged that one section of new cable was too low for trains to run safely. Commuters still remember the great return to work 2 years ago, when there were days of delays. This morning's disruption was nowhere near as bad as that, but it was frustrating nevertheless.
It was intensely frustrating this morning, I think, for all commuters. This has happened so many times that promises have been made and then not kept.
Network Rail apologised for the delays. National Express East Anglia said services are now back to normal. Gareth George, BBC Look East.
A man charged with murdering a pensioner in Southend on New Year's Day has been remanded in custody. 88-year-old Rosina Waller was found in Johnson Road. Hassan Salahi, who's 34, is to appear at Basildon Crown Court in March. The West Suffolk Hospital has closed 3 wards to new admissions following an outbreak of the winter vomiting bug. They'll stay shut for 3 days after everyone has recovered. In total, 25 patients have shown symptoms of this highly contagious norovirus.
Police believe a fire which threatened to destroy an historic house in Suffolk was started deliberately. The owners of Priory Hall in Hadleigh escaped to safety with their children after a passing driver saw flames and banged on the door to wake them up.
Surveying the damage this morning, the owners of Priory Hall, Cindy and Anthony Hilton. This building, which housed a swimming pool, was destroyed. But it could have been far worse if not for a passing driver raising the alarm, the quick work of firefighters and a wind which helped keep flames from the main building.
You felt like you were under air attack because all the clay tiles were exploding and showering all around. And so there's this banging, it's sort of like a firework display going off all the time.
The couple and their 3 children were asleep inside the hall when it broke out. Firefighters battled for more than an hour to bring it under control. The number plate on one of the family's cars melted in the heat.
You can see how narrow the gap is, some 4 feet or so, between the swimming pool building, which was lost, and the timber-framed house, which was saved. And this is where police believe the fire was started, in this wood pile, and that's why they're treating this as a case of arson.
It's a hugely uncomfortable feeling. It's not like a wheelie bin. It's well within the property. It would be nice if they find who did it. Yeah, and until then it's really quite uncomfortable, certainly.
I don't know who the people were who phoned the fire brigade, but apparently they had about 6 or 7 people who called them. Seeing you grateful doesn't really sum it up. I mean, it could have been so much worse, and it's thanks to them that it wasn't.
The hall is used as a wedding venue, but that business won't be affected. Police are appealing for witnesses to come forward. Kevin Birch, BBC Look East, in Hadleigh.
A section of the A14 in Suffolk is being upgraded at a cost of £9 million. The project will affect both carriageways between the Claydon and Copdock interchanges. The work got underway today. It's expected to take up to 6 months to complete. The road surface and drainage will be improved, as will the safety barriers. A 50-mile-per-hour speed limit will be in place.
A Sergeant Major with the Royal Anglians is drawing on more than a quarter of a century of soldiering to set him up in his second passion, which is painting. Doug Farthing has fought on front lines from Northern Ireland to Afghanistan, and now he's heading back there for more inspiration.
Packing up for Afghanistan, but this Suffolk soldier is also armed with a sketchbook, paints and brushes. 23 years with the Parachute Regiment and now a TA with the Anglians, Doug Farthing has a wealth of experience to quite literally draw upon.
The paintings and the drawings are always painted from my perspective, a soldier's perspective, not just an artist's. I've always been a believer war art was born in the trenches by the officers and soldiers.
What makes your pictures different because you're a soldier?
They're real. They've got the energy and the anticipation that a soldier has every time, you know, he walks out of that gate or gets into the back of a vehicle or deploys from any vehicle in any theatre of operations.
Many field sketches are made on old ammunition boxes. From his studio in Corton, Doug talked me through his craft.
I just try and capture the essence of what's going on here.
So this is the way you paint in the field, just enough to give you...
Yeah, just enough to get an idea of what's going on. And it might not be on an ammo crate, it might be in my sketchbooks.
Doug's had no formal training, and yet his paintings command four-figure sums. Many hang in regimental headquarters, some are in national museums.
What about here, Doug? Yeah. We see images of war every day on our televisions, photographs in the papers. What do you offer that those images can't?
I think if you see something, or you observe it, you capture more in the painting than you would a photograph or a camera would ever gain, because you're looking at it over a period of time.
Doug returns from Afghanistan in August, from a war which has had a profound effect on his comrades and a profound effect on his art. Alex Dunlop, BBC Look East, Suffolk.
You're watching Look East from the BBC.
Well, we start the year with two certainties. There will be a general election and the campaign will be dominated by the economy.
Here in the East, almost 200,000 workers are currently unemployed. Above all others, they will want to see the economy bounce back from recession this year. But will it? Our business correspondent Richard Bond looks at the year ahead.
On the outside here, you've got your electric windows and your electric mirrors.
Maureen and Barry Young from Ipswich are buying a new car, and they're not the only ones. Business at this East Anglian group of dealerships is up more than 50% on the year. Hardly a sign of recession, but hold on. It's mostly because of the government's scrappage scheme, which gives buyers a £2,000 discount if they hand in their old vehicle.
This time last year we were on the sort of edge of a cliff in meltdown, but we're very pleased. November, December, people buying cars before the VAT increase, and the scrappage money's still in the system. So much busier than we thought we'd be a year ago.
The trouble is, all this prosperity may not last. The subsidy for the scrappage scheme is due to end next month, which means the outlook for the motor trade in 2010 is uncertain. And you could say the same for the whole economy. Government stimulus programmes can't last forever, and when they end, we'll find out what trade is really like and what kind of recovery we're likely to get. Will it be V-shaped, a slump followed by rapid recovery, W-shaped, a recovery which falters and goes back into recession, or U-shaped, meaning a long wait before better times return?
I'm expecting a U-shaped recovery. It's been a long recession. Recovery will be slow next year and unemployment will keep rising, but we'll see a much more rapid recovery and growth in 2011.
For a recovery to get underway, we need the engines of the region's economy to get going. Felixstowe is Britain's biggest container port. It slumped last year and isn't holding its breath for a rapid recovery in 2010. Stansted is another huge driver of the region's economy. Passenger traffic dropped last year for the first time ever, but bosses hope for a return to growth later this year. On reflection, it's looking like another tough year once we come off special measures. Richard Bond, BBC Look East, Ipswich.
Richard Bond reporting there. And in case